I, 21 male, live with my older sister, 23, and my two younger sisters, nearly adult and teen. My older sister currently has legal custody over our two younger sisters, and at one point even had legal custody over me when I was still a kid. She gained custody of us all when she became 19 because our mom was a mess. My mom is going through end-stage renal kidney failure, assumingly because all of those years of not taking care of herself caught up to her. When she first started going to dialysis about 5 months ago, she put me down as her emergency contact. And at first, I just sucked it up and dealt with it because she doesn't have anyone else in this part of the country. My older sister doesn't talk to her for reasons you can imagine. However, yesterday, when the clinic contacted me and I had to pick her up, I informed her that she needed to put someone else down because I won't be answering those calls anymore after she had her family members leave threatening messages to my older sister. Naturally, this made her angry and she started asking why I didn't love her anymore and when I stopped loving her. So I told her the exact moment I stopped loving her and respecting her was when I was 13. I just entered high school. I was big into football and the coach then was brutal. He made us practice twice a day at 5 a.m. and after school. I told her how I woke up one morning and she was passed out on the couch, and my older sister, only 15 at the time, was freaking out because we had no food. We never had any food. She was freaking out, thinking I would pass out from all that practice and barely eating. I tried to assure her that I'd be fine, but then she went into the kitchen and grabbed the only things we had, which were 2 days old, almost burnt rice, salt, a can of green beans, and half a chicken breast, and made our siblings and me an entire fried rice meal. She made sure I ate that morning. She had to stay home from school that day, like most days, to send younger sisters off to school and be there to pick them up. So when I got home from that day, my sister was in the kitchen cooking dinner, and there were some groceries in the fridge that she brought with the money she got from selling the rings our grandma gave her. All the while, Mom remained passed out on the couch. I told her that's when all love and respect for her vanished. She cried and told me that I was evil. I'm having a moral conflict because I wonder if I should have been softer with her. Am I the idiot? Edit, my dad passed away when I was a little kid, so he was really no better than my mom. Not the idiot, you aren't evil. Your mother's neglect was. And now she has her family members leave threatening messages to your older sister, the one who raised her kids. Time to go no contact with your mother and these family members. Also, OP, I know there's some pressure because she's dying, but she left your life and role as a parent a long time ago. Do not feel the guilt of any sort for cutting contact at this time. You can continue to make peace with her role in your life on your own. You do not need to subject yourself to more of it. Release yourself from that responsibility. Holy cow, you owe her nothing for how she treated you and your sisters. She doesn't get the love and respect of being a mom if she doesn't do the bare minimum of what a mom is supposed to do. Good job on setting your boundaries and not letting her guilt you. You also have a lot of resentment. Write a letter to your mom and your late dad with all your feelings in it and then burn it for catharsis. As you watch the flames, focus on releasing the hurt and resentment. I have two daughters, Maddie, 30, and Jess, 28. They're both beautiful young women with a lot going for them. Maddie got married in the summer of 2021, while Jess got married this past December. Maddie always wanted to have a traditional large wedding with the whole extended family and a big reception. She ended up having about 150 guests attend and it was a blast. Jess, however, always wanted something more low-key, which suited her personality better. She doesn't love being the center of attention and often says that spending a ton of money on one day is unreasonable, which is fair. However, from the time they were little, my spouse and I saw that coming and were okay with it. Planning Maddie's was a lot, so we were honestly a little relieved when she told us. She had a very small wedding, but rented out a space for a celebration a week later. She invited relatives too. Due to a few factors, which I believe would be doing it in the winter versus summer, not inviting people to the real wedding, and just being less of a social person her whole life than Maddie, not as many relatives attended Jess's event. We have a large extended family, but only about 1/3 of the relatives who attended Maddie's wedding attended Jess's event. She also received less money gifted. Maddie told us that from family members, she and her husband got about $25,000, which they put towards a down payment, while Jess got some money but just a few thousand, mostly from her grandparents. Jess was complaining about it this weekend and saying how the favoritism that Maddie got was unfair, said that it was proof that the family doesn't care about her, and to be honest, she sounded a little bratty. I told her she shouldn't be surprised that people she chose not to include in her actual wedding weren't willing to travel to the other event or be as generous, and that she should be grateful people came at all and that her parents paid for everything. I told her she should be thankful for having no expenses and still getting a few $1,000s. Jess didn't take that well and called me an idiot and has been very, very upset. I personally think she's being a little overdramatic and will get over it, but Maddie told me I was being a little harsh, even if what I said was true. Am I the idiot? Edit. For Jess's event, we rented out a restaurant's event space. There were drinks and hors d'oeuvres, but it was not a traditional wedding reception, i.e. no full meal, dancing, DJ or band, wedding party speeches or anything else. She wanted this, and my spouse and I paid for it entirely. Not the idiot. Why would your family give money to a couple who didn't even invite them to the wedding? The cash gift was just that, a gift. They're lucky to have received more than they spent on the wedding, which was paid for by their parents. A wedding is not a gift grab, and if she was relying on a lot of cash gifts, she should have thrown a bigger wedding. Did she really expect people to come in from out of town for dinner at a restaurant after they'd purposely been excluded from the wedding, and then she didn't even have a vow renewal or something? LOL. Sounds like the event post-wedding was just to get money from family. Jess made her choice, and I wholly support her doing what she wants for her wedding, but this is the consequences part of making our own decisions. Your extended family is allowed not to attend the wedding, or to give no gift, or give a lesser gift, and your daughter likewise is allowed to feel hurt by the apparent favoritism. You had no reason to invalidate her feelings. I am shocked that the size of a wedding gift is accepted by so many as something you decide in proportion to how absurdly big a wedding is. OP, you are the idiot if one daughter receives significantly more money from you than the other just because the second didn't want as big of a party. Someone being an introvert doesn't mean they should get less money. The fair thing to do would have been to give her the same total amount and let her use the difference as a down payment. Yeah, your family enabled one kid to put a down payment on her house. The other kid barely got enough for a down payment on a used Honda Civic. This is justified because one threw a better party. The values expressed there are messed up. Your daughter's entitled to the money. She is 100% entitled to her feelings. My brother and his wife have 3 kids, a tween male and 2 younger females. His wife also has a teen son from a previous marriage. My brother also has a daughter from an earlier relationship, Addie, tween. My brother hasn't met or spoken to Addie until she had to move in when she was a pre-tween after CPS removed her from her mom's house. When she moved in with them, I got her the cheapest phone I could find and told her she could come over whenever she wanted and to call me so I'll pick her up. One thing that's always driven my brother and sister-in-law crazy is that Addie will not call them Mom and Dad. Instead, she's called them Mr. and Mrs. last name since meeting them. The therapist always said not to force it on her, but that didn't stop them from strongly encouraging it. Naturally, this made Addie feel uncomfortable at home and start to spend more time at my house. We've been doing at least 3 overnights a week at my house for the past 3.5 years. Well, I guess my brother and his wife started to see her more as my kid than theirs. They'd all go to the beach and forget to invite Addie because she wasn't here, or choose family activities that they knew she wouldn't like, so she'd come back to me. Now, one of Addie's biggest fears is cats. Nobody understands it and no amount of therapy has been able to fix it, but she cannot be anywhere near a cat. Well, I guess her dad forgot about her fear like he forgot to invite her to go out the other day, and they came home with a kitten. Addie wasn't told about the kitten and went home for the night. She went to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and saw the kitten. She was screaming, which woke everyone up and scared the kitten into running out of the bathroom and caused her dad to get mad at her. He started to yell at her and she ran out of the front door at 12:30 at night. Nobody thought to stop her or even see where she was going. She ran to my house, woke me up and told me everything. I couldn't calm her down, so I stayed up all night with her. She finally passed out that morning, so I asked my daughter to watch her and went to my brother's house. I screamed at him and his wife, called them horrible parents and said that this was why Addie refused to call them Mom and Dad 4 years later. They slammed the door in my face and refused to talk to me, and sent Addie a text saying she had to choose between them and me. She's been a wreck the past few days to the point where I can't leave her home alone. I felt horrible and I wondered if I was the idiot for screaming at them. Not the idiot. It sounds like your brother doesn't want the responsibility of being a parent to this child and is perfectly happy to let you do it. OP, at this point, I get a lawyer and try to get custody. Your brother should be paying you child support, and that kid should have a stable home without parents who torture her. He then texted that child that she has to pick the father who will mistreat her or lose him and stay with the safe person. You are the better parent here, but there's no way that ultimatum isn't going to hurt. Either it's a lie or he doesn't care about his kid. It's clear neither he nor his wife wants to help her heal. They want to ignore it and have Addie play pretend with them to be one big happy family. Nothing here shows they have Addie's best interests at heart. I agree, now might be the time to get authorities or lawyers involved to try and get full guardianship. My 30 female husband has a 23-year-old daughter. Recently, she stopped living with her roommates to get an apartment with her 30-year-old unemployed boyfriend, who she had been seeing for 6 months prior to that. I told her dad he needed to talk to her before she moved in with him because the whole relationship was a walking red flag and it was going to blow up. So he did, she didn't want to hear it. Whatever, not my problem, she's an adult. I will mention here that she had lived with us before when she got into a tight spot, and over the years she has made it pretty obvious that she only likes me if she wants something. I've caught her bad-mouthing me to her family and friends on multiple occasions. Her dad and I have been together for 6 years. I owned a house when we met. I paid it off with the life insurance I got when I lost my first husband. Her dad and I are comfortable financially because of that. Anyways, the 30-year-old jobless boyfriend isn't working out, former roommates rented her out her old room, and she can't find anything she can afford on her own. She came by and hinted about living with us. I hinted at no. Now she's flat out asking to move in. I said absolutely not. Now she's saying her boyfriend is emotionally abusive to her and crying to her dad constantly. She's run to her family and said that I'm making her dad force her to stay in an abusive relationship. Her mom lives in another state and she doesn't want to go there to live with her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If she's bad-mouthing you to others, she's disrespected you and is now just trying to use you again. Stand your ground. She's an adult and can live with her choices, both her living situation and how she's treated you. Frankly, she sounds like a nightmare. Why is living with you the only option? Can't your husband help her out monetarily so she can get a new apartment? She can't afford an apartment. She was renting a room for a good price, but she gave that up to move in with this idiot. She can't find anything she can afford in our area, the 9th most expensive city in the US. My husband doesn't want her to live here either. I see exactly where you're coming from, and good on you for trying to mitigate this problem before it even began. However, the fact is that this is a bit of an age gap. 23 and 30 makes me concerned that he may be abusive. Can you let her move in under certain conditions? She has, let's say, 90 days to find another place. She needs to respect certain rules, etc., etc. I'm just remembering being 33, and I also dated a guy in his 30s. We never lived together though, and he definitely took advantage of me financially. I ended up paying for a lot of stuff because he'd randomly quit every job he had because they disrespected him. It was exhausting, and I wasn't old enough to recognize how red those red flags were in the beginning. I disagree. If she really is in a difficult situation, either her dad help her financially or she can go live with her mom until she gets something better. But it's not like you helping her is the only solution. It looks like it's just the easier one for everyone except you, who will be the one making a compromise for her careless behavior. I, 30 female, am Greek and I was raised in the US. Even though I don't go back home frequently, I'm fluent in the language and speak it with my family. I have a preschool daughter with my wife, 27, who is originally Irish, but her family has lived in the US for generations. Obviously, she and her family speak English. She's picked up basic Greek from me over time and can speak it quite well. She also calls me Mama, which is almost equivalent to the Greek version of the word. Our daughter has also picked up Greek from us, so in our own house, we switch between English and Greek. Everywhere else, I try to teach our daughter that only some understand Greek and that English should be the language she uses. She does that most of the time, but when she's excited, she usually switches back and forth between the two. My brother-in-law will turn 30 this year, so my wife wanted to throw him a birthday party. We invited her whole family to our beach house to celebrate him. Our daughter was, of course, excited about the whole trip and would sometimes speak Greek with either of us. My wife and I would correct her and move on. At breakfast, my mother-in-law asked our daughter to speak English multiple times, which was kind of weird. She later told my wife and me that our daughter speaking Greek all the time wasn't so great because she couldn't bond with her cousins the way she should, affecting the family dynamic. She didn't speak Greek all the time, she did it only occasionally, and we always corrected her. My wife and I explained that she was just a kid and that being bilingual creates these issues. Mother-in-law was later joined by my father-in-law, who said the exact same things. I was over it at this point and had to join a Zoom meeting with my team for work, so I just said, "Whoa, that almost hurt my feelings," in a joking, dramatic way in Greek. My wife laughed and I left. Apparently this hurt them so much. My wife and I agreed not to make a big deal out of it. However, over dinner, there was still a lot of awkwardness. I didn't talk much, and every time our daughter spoke Greek, we still told her to speak English. My mother-in-law called both my wife and me arrogant and entitled after we got back home, and it went into a whole family fight. Was I too much? Not the idiot. My daughter is raised bilingual, French and Dutch. When she was young, she would mix the language, but she grew out of it. Mother-in-law has several issues. She can't understand what's being said in Greek, so she feels left out, and she has an unsatisfied curiosity about not knowing what is being said. Your daughter's cousins can bond with her regardless of language, and your daughter could teach them Greek. That's a great learning experience for kids. Please don't let your mother-in-law or father-in-law or any other person shame you for teaching another language to your child. Monolingual, usually English-speaking, in my observations, people tend to take offense far too often when this sort of thing occurs. Your daughter is young, and she's going to use any and all the words she can, and this is a good thing. Please encourage this. I will never understand folks who rally against this. I could have been bilingual at least. My mother is trilingual but refused to teach me. It did not end well. I'm sorry your mother-in-law and father-in-law don't appreciate how much your daughter is learning.